Well, hello and welcome back to another evening of racing here at Syndicate Motorsport. Here we are for round number 4 of the Syndicate Motorsport 90s DTM League, hosted on Saturdays. I'm Pirate Lazebeam. I'll be your host for the evening, doing the commentary as always for our racing here on Saturdays. And the possible cough, Carlover, and hello to you, was actually me logging into Twitch and it just started playing someone else's stream, so you heard a cough from some other random streamer. But yeah, hope you're doing well. Good to see you in chat as always. Practice session has just ended, so we're about to go into the qualifying session, which of course will be a normal 20-minute qualifying, followed by 2 20-minute races. Tired from the Drift Masters, how was that? Very good. Glad to hear it. Bit sunburnt. Yeah, I'm a bit sunburnt as well. I've got quite a good kind of builder's tan going, if you know what that means. So kind of like halfway up your arm, it just stops. And then I've got a little bit sunburnt as well. And then I've got my kind of normal pasty white gamer skin above that. So I look a little bit like a Neapolitan ice cream now. So, I'm a little bit behind on my schedule here, so I'm just going to quickly update the standings chart doodad, which tells me, well, lets me flash up on the screen how everyone is doing. So, just bear with me while I sort that out. In the meantime, tell me your highlights from the day. What did you enjoy the most out of your trip to the Drift Masters today? And then I'll get back to explaining what's happening in the league. Cancel that. What have I done here? Get rid of that. Oop, forgot my heading. There we go. Save. Export. And voila, that is done. He had not relayed that information just yet. Oh, sorry to hear you're not racing tonight. Oh yeah, always good to bring water with you to an event like that. Okay, brilliant. Practice session is finished, so it's going to tick over to qualifying shortly. And then what I'll do is I'll take the opportunity right now just to flash up the standings. And there we go, qualifying's just starting. So I'll quickly pop that onto Andrew, and then what we'll do is we'll bring up the standings and talk through where we are with the championship just so far. So there you go. So this is round number 4. That means that we have added in the entirety of the ballast pool, because after the 3rd round all of the ballast gets added in. And then what you can see there is Andrew is still leading the championship with 129 points, and that consequently means he now has 85 kilograms of ballast. Quentin, or Red as you may know him, has got 81 points in P2. Quite a step back in terms of points from Andrew. Andrew's very dominant so far, but that does mean that Red only has 53 kilos of ballast, and he is pretty quick in his BMW. Marju, third place, with 73 kilos, and he has 48 kilos of ballast. Andrew just absolutely annihilating himself on a curb there. Let's go to Forrest. It's his first round, and he switched to the BMW because he really wasn't getting on with the Audi and rage quit at the beginning of the last round. So we, given he hasn't actually done any racing in the Audi, we figured it would be fine, just let him switch over, and the drivers didn't seem to mind. So here's Forrest McCormack. So you'll note that Forrest is currently down in 24th on the championship standings because he has nil points. But Sketty, P4 with 46 kilograms of ballast. We then have Ash in P5, unfortunately not racing today due to illness. He's on 38 kilos of ballast, I think that says, with 57 points. Michael, our fastest Audi driver, in P6 with 44 points. It's a fair amount of ballast, but not too much. It's worth pointing out actually that we've removed from the league a few drivers who had zero attendance or have advised us that they are happy to drop out for various reasons. So we've actually got 3 new drivers in the roster. You can see Hemi, who's on the top left of my screen if I just bring this back down. Hemi down in P14 now is one of the new drivers. We've also got R. Postma, which is in P6. He's going to be one to watch today actually because very quick driver apparently by all accounts. I did suss out with everyone before any new drivers joined the league, you know, did they feel comfortable? They are a confident driver. I said it doesn't really matter if you're not the fastest driver, but all we ask for is that you have good car control and you know, can operate safely on the track. So they've assured me that they can, and that they've done pretty well in some of the previous events that they've been taking part of. So we've gone ahead and added them in. But crucially, anyone who's new to the league at this point, given we've already allocated ballast to other drivers, we've basically given them the average level of ballast across the group. So that pretty much means 24 kilograms of ballast for all of the new incomers. And then what will happen is that they will do this round, and then they'll have a reset of the ballast based on their performance. So for some of them it's going to drop down, for others it will increase. But let's go back and bring this up then. So yeah, P13, car lover. We've also got Nasuru in P12, Binding in P11, Alien in P10, Kulik in P9, and I think Kulik is back with us today on track. We've also got Akashik in P8, Viles in P7, and I've kind of gone halfway down the standings and gone back up again there. Back to P14, we've got Taylor, then Zaddy in P15, then PT, and then Xfinity, and then from there onwards everyone else I guess is in equal last spot because they have 0 points. Oh, it's interesting to know, Carlover. You're doing very well on controller then. Cool, so that's the standings, and as I mentioned, this is round number 4, so technically it's like the halfway point because we have 8 rounds in this championship. And as I've mentioned on previous streams, but for those who are just tuning in for the first time, the rounds are all the same format for this one. Typically we do kind of 2 feature races, which are double points but longer races, but they're all the same for the first 7 in this league. So 20-minute races, 2 of them back-to-back, 20-minute qualifying, an hour and 10 minutes of practice, except for our big finale, which is going to be at the Nordschleife. So of course these cars raced at the Nordschleife, and we are going back there for the grand finale of this championship for a 1-hour race around the Nordschleife in 90s DTM. It's going to be one hell of a race, so really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Now, Forrest McCormack was technically signed up from the beginning of the championship, and the rounds that he hasn't attended are therefore considered 0-point rounds. So he's actually got 0 ballast going into this round. We didn't add the 24 kilos because technically he's been here since the beginning, but just hasn't attended the rounds. And that's treated slightly differently from not having signed up until midway through the championship. Yeah, you're doing really well this league. car lover. Another one that's a surprise for where they are in the championship standings is Alien, who is doing really well this league, and obviously really enjoys these cars because they've got a real turn of speed in these, which we haven't necessarily seen in other leagues. But really good to see Alien out there having a good time and doing well. So, scores on the doors so far, with almost 7 minutes of qualifying out of the way, is that Michael in our Audi has got the top time of 2:18.689, followed by Forrest McCormack. There's Andrew. Actually, no, sorry, that looks like Marju, actually. Might return to pits there. It could have been Alien. Winging their way through the curbs. We have read that some of the curbs are a little bit aggressive. I mean, if you ever watched any of the real 90s DTM, they were absolutely hammering these cars over the curbs, and the curbs were a real issue in the sense that they could probably rip your suspension out, and the drivers didn't seem to care. They just hit them at full speed and hope for the best. But here in AC, drivers must proceed with caution over some of the curbs. It will launch your car into space. That's interesting. But no setup changes. Well, I think, yeah, the cars have been pretty well received from everyone. Looks like we've now got 17 drives on circuit. A little bit disappointing with attendance. We know that we've got a few drivers who are ill and some who are unable to join for other reasons, but maybe because we're halfway through the league, we're hitting that little bit of a lull point where attendance starts to drop off. But it's a bit disheartening to see so many drivers not turn up. So, Red is our other BMW driver, and you can see actually, despite the fact that Red has a significantly larger amount of ballast compared to Forrest McCormack, his experience in the car is definitely helping. 625 relative to Forrest McCormack's 552, and that means that Forrest McCormack's definitely going to have to watch out for the likes of Red. There's Andrew coming into P2 there with a 2:19.551. Take a moment to check out the camera angles. So that's number F3, and then we've kind of got two versions of this. We've got a slightly longer pan, which might be nice for some longer shots. But let's talk about teams for a moment. So we're obviously running teams in the championship. And we've got the Wild Hogs Racing team in first place. That's actually made up of Andrew and Binding. And they are in first place with 107 points. We've then got Syndicate Rhine, which is Akashik and Red. Red, who's just annihilated themselves. Hold your brakes, there we go. So they're in P2 with 90 points. We've then got the Deutsche Tourenwagen Novyschaft, who is made up of Ashevi. And despite the fact that they're racing solo, they have a whole 57 points themselves. And then we've got RAC, which is Adam Keith and Kulik. And they are in P4 with 20 points. We've got Global Enduro. And that is Taylor. And Global Enduro have 5 points. Mattel Inc., that's Car Lover, I believe. Because you have the Barbie livery. And where are they? Team standings. So Mattel Inc. has 4 points, putting them in 6th place overall. P7, Love Life Racing Idol Project. I think that's Zadie. Yes, it is. Barbie in the Hot Wheels livery, indeed. Yeah, so Zadie is in P7, and that's the last of the teams with points. Okay, great. So we've got 9 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock for qualifying. We'll be going into race number 1 then. Of course, the qualifying positions from this session dictate the starting positions for race number 1. And then when we get into race number 2, the starting positions of that race are dictated by the finishing positions of the first race. You can see the Mercedes there, overcooking it and going into the emergency runoff area. But here comes red. That'll be Michael, I assume, in the Audi. And one of our lovely 190Es. The 190Es has definitely been struggling this season, although we did watch Viles come to a glorious win at Mugello last round in a 190E, and it was an absolute glorious treat to see that happen. But I'm just going to quickly check here. So we've got... Doesn't actually tell me on the standings view here what everyone is driving. Which is a little bit annoying. But Viles is in P6 with a 190E, I know that much. Andrew is of course in an Alpha, as is Marju. Red is in P3 in the championship standings overall, so that's the BMW highest ranked so far. Sketty, I believe, is in an Alpha. And just confirming that for you now. Yep, they are in an Alpha, so the Alpha is definitely dominant, even though this pack has been quite well tuned and balanced. Ash also in an Alpha, and then we get down to Viles, who's in the Mercedes, followed by Michael, who's in the Audi, of course, and then Akshik in another BMW. So, a bit of a mixed bag in the midfield, but pretty clear dominance from the Alphas in the top 5 or so. But yes, let's talk about the Hockenheimring where we're racing today. So, of course, a staple of the DTM lineup, and we're using the 1988 version of the track because this circuit has been around for a very long time, and it's had a few different iterations. But from 1965 to 2001, they ran pretty much on this version of the circuit, and this includes some very long straights and a few chicanes just to make things interesting. Here's one of the chicanes now. The drivers come down full pelt, they've got to get on the brakes, then navigate through the chicane carrying as much momentum as they possibly can. And we'll just go to the onboard view with the Audi here from Michael's point of view, just to watch him come through what looks to be the final sector. So basically this is into the stadium part of the track. They go through the forest and then arrive down here into the stadium. And this is where I think they're a little bit more interesting, got a little bit of a twisty bit, and this bit's been retained largely for the current format of the circuit. The long straights through the forest and the chicanes have largely been dropped and changed for a new format. I'm just going to go ahead and just adjust the filter and see if we can't get a little bit more light into this. The pure linear was just a little bit too dark there. Ooh, car lever. Time to exercise your mod responsibilities. But yeah, so in 2001 they then, 2002, sorry, they then redesigned the circuit. Go ahead and ban. There we go. Yeah, so 2002 they redesigned the circuit, and that's what we have until today, and that's pretty much what you would see if you watch any race since that time. But it's quite a shame that they've lost the original kind of format of the circuit, because I quite enjoyed this this version. It had a certain charm to it with its long straights, allowing for some kind of long protracted battles down the straights, and then the braking into the chicanes, just like they're watching here. So catching as much of the curbs as you dare to take before into the sweeping right-hander. And we'll just stick with Michael here as he navigates through the next straight down to what becomes quite a tricky next chicane. Well, actually what I might do is switch over to Sketty, because you'll watch now. The chicane that Sketty's coming up to now is probably one of the most difficult on the circuit, because you're coming right down here at almost at full speed, and then it's quite a hard chicane to navigate through. You can see it's almost a 90-degree right into a 90 left, and you're going to have people possibly trying to use that as an opportunity to make a move there. And then the next chicane that you have to navigate through is this one. So again, hard left, but you can almost straight line through this one with a little bit of skill. And then it's into the right-hander. And you can see in the background, Scatty has the likes of a 190E chasing them down as they head down to the final of the chicanes through the forest section of the circuit here at Hockenheim. And we'll go back on board for this view. So there's the 300 metre board, the 200. And then just before the 100 board, Scatty gets on the brakes. Again, not as bad a chicane as the first one, but still enough that you have to carefully navigate through this one. In the background, you can see a 190E as well, catching a good chunk of curb there. Welcome back, car. We had a little bot in here a moment ago, so I've banned them. But yeah, we've got 3 minutes left on qualifying. We've got Michael in P1 with a 218.689. Andrew in P2 with a 219.551. So quite a bit of a gap there between Andrew and Michael. But then again, there's quite a big ballast gap there. No worries, car. I was waiting for you to take the opportunity, and then I figured you must be AFK for a reason, so I just stepped in there and did it for you. Forrest McCormack in third place though with a 219.552. He's only 1 millisecond behind Andrew. And then 4 milliseconds ahead of Neo. So actually really good to see Neo in P4 with a 190E. And here he is in formation up to P2 now actually with a 219.309. So we might actually see a little bit more of Mercedes dominance here at the fourth round in the championship. Let's go on board with Neo as he executes the move. In the background you can see one of the BMWs giving chase, but at the moment it's 190E action all the way down to the first chicane, and one of them just running a little bit wide onto the grass there. That'll slow them down just a touch. Neo now down to the braking zone for the first chicane, and the other one decides to overcook it. In fact, both of them do, and they take the emergency exit there. Hey Vars, good to see you. Yeah, Pixel's back and the BMW, and doing well on the back of it as well. Still not as dominant compared to Red as I would expect given the difference in ballast. Getting ready for the Chinese. What have you ordered? Yeah, we're into the 219 territory right the way down to about P8, and then it's 220s for P9 and 10. And then basically everyone else is in 221s until we get to Erdi and Marju. So Marju's disconnected for some reason. I guess he'll be back. But should be a pretty tight grid based on that. Only about 2 seconds in it from P2 down to P15. Oh, you're going to the place. Nice. Had a kebab for breakfast. I mean, there's literally nothing wrong with that. Breakfast of champions. Bacon roll. Again, classic. So no Retrolux today, unfortunately. There's no stream on their side, so I assume they can't make it. Ah, okay. I've just read the DMs, so I've got some things keeping them off the track today. But hopefully they're enjoying the stream. Qualifying has just come to an end, and that means we've got a few more minutes just for the session to wrap up, and then we'll have about a minute and a half or so before the first race gets underway. And then we'll be off to the races, as they say. One thing that's worth noting is that, and if I go to Akashik now quickly, first corner of this circuit is pretty much a 90 right, so hopefully the drivers get through that in one piece, and then it's really a question of the first chicane. I think okay, let's hope we don't see that happening to Akashik in the first corner. But yeah, the first chicane is going to be basically where things get a little bit interesting. The entirety of the grid will have to basically come down that in formation almost, because I imagine at that point they'll probably all be pretty much bunched up still. And then it's going to be full speed down to full braking to a 90 right, and I expect we might see some issues there. As ever, I'll have my finger on the button for the restart just in case we need to do a red flag, and that will be basically dictated by, but not exclusively dictated by, I hasten to add, this is kind of down to discretion of yours truly. But if we have about 3 cars and a big pile-up, that might be grounds for a restart. But if they're the last 3 cars in the grid, then that probably wouldn't dictate a restart. But if it's the front 3 and then everyone else gets a bit caught up in that, then that probably would be. Yeah, hopefully Viles. As you can see, Andrew is down in 5th place, so the ballast is definitely eating. He's got 85 kilograms of ballast. And I'll just bring up the standings one last time while you take a moment to enjoy where people are in the championship. And then what I'll also do is just set up a prediction here, which is okay, with who will actually no. What should we do? Should we say what position? Okay, yeah, who will? Oh, it's going to make this a little bit interesting. So we're going to do Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Alpha, and got to throw in the Volvo, of course. There you go, prediction is up and away. So it's which of the car brands that we have racing here today will win the race. You've got the choice of the Alpha, Mercedes. Actually, what I'll do is I'll quickly jump into the pit lane so you can take a look here. Hell, look at that, the mighty Syndicate Motorsport van. So you have the choice of the Audi. You have the Mercedes, the 190e. You've got the BMW. You've got the Alfa Romeo. And I don't believe any of the drivers are here today in the Volvo. So maybe the Volvo isn't a really safe choice. There we go. Yeah, Viles, it's a shame you're not here to lay down the Mercedes dominance after your stellar performance at Mugello. I swear that was some of the best racing entertainment I've seen as I cheered on a Mercedes to victory at Mugello against the likes of the Alphas and so on. Absolutely cracking drive and one hell of a race. Yeah, the racing for Forrest McCormack tends to go 2 ways. He either gets out in front early and wins the race without any issues at all, or he gets completely annihilated in the middle of the first race. So we're going to go ahead with this camera here because that looks like it's going to be a bit of an interesting one. I'm going to switch to Taylor so that we can see the back of the grid a little bit more. Oh, I'm very, very pleased to hear that, Viles. I tend to get very excited when the Mercedes is winning, so I kind of couldn't help myself. So, 38 seconds to go, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll be off to the first race here at the Hockenheimring as we start round number 4 of the DTM League. And we've got a lineup of 17 or so cars here. Where's Margie gone? I think Margie's disconnected annoyingly. But 16 brave souls taking to what is one hell of a racetrack. I believe this is the layout which claimed... Was it... oh, what was his name? Famous F1 driver, I think, died here, unfortunately. But anyway, there we go. Lights are up. Engines are revving. And away we go. Audi, of course, off to a flying start with the Alphas pulling out into the middle here as they look for the opportunity to make the most of their all-wheel drive system. But there's Neo in third place as they come down, and let's switch over to this camera here. We can see Neo maintaining position in the background. It's happened as expected. Okay, that is quite a big pile up there. I'm going to actually go ahead and restart that one, because that was at least 5 cars at the back of the grid there. So we've not had to do that in the league so far. That's the first time we've ever actually pulled the trigger on that, and decided to do that because 5 cars were taken out in the first corner, and that really isn't going to do. So let's get the cars back on the lineup, and the way they go. They are a little bit out of kilter there, so hopefully they straighten up. Unfortunately, no Volvos on the grids today, Adrian, so hopefully we see some of those in the future. But let's hope the drivers take it a little bit more easy this time, and it's interesting that they haven't straightened the cars up. But lights are up again for the second time, engines are revving, and away they go. Let's hope we have better cleanliness this time. Andrew down the inside on the run to T1 as Michael gets through. Neo's off the track, but so far looks like we're off to the races in better shape this time. And it's going to be the first chicane where things get really interesting. So here we go into the first chicane. Through relatively okay, I think. A little bit of a shunt and a bump further back. But now 3 abreast. We've got Michael on the inside, Andrew on the left-hand side. That actually might be binding. No, it's Andrew. And Neo's in the mix as well with the Mercedes. So still in the top 5 for Neo. Next chicane coming through. Locking up with the brakes from Forrest McCormack as he runs wide. There's one of the Mercedes off as well. That might be Neo. It is Neo. But Forrest McCormack through into P7. Kulik in P8. Giving chase to Akshek as Hemi in their first race here takes P10 in the BMW. Bit of a three-way battle developing here in P10. We've got Kulik, Neo, and in the background Zaddy. Zaddy racing alongside R. Postuma. And as they come through the final chicane, Zaddy in the 190E leads the race. In the background, Erdy running a little bit wide, but looks of it. And I think that means Taylor, who's actually seemingly down in 16th place, will be catching up. Let's go to the front of the pack, though, as we've got Michael in the Audi coming through the stadium section with Red in hot pursuit. And it's going to be interesting to see what Red has in store for us. On board here with Red, representing France today in the BMW. And as they run down to T1, Red's thinking about that move on the inside, but thinks twice and backs out, which is good news for Michael. But Red on the power early, and definitely going to be one to watch as they run down to the first chicane. Let's go to this camera here. Red darting left to right as he tried to find a way through. I think they've got the straight line speed here in the Beamer. And it's actually neck and neck as they come down to the first chicane. Andrew's got the inside line, which should mean that they have the ability to control the corner, but Red is going to be in very good position here to attack. Riding the curbs as much as they dare as Andrew in the background in the Alpha starts to appear. And red is still giving chase here. 0.6 of a second behind now, so a little bit slower through there than Michael was, and a bit further back than they were going through the stadium section, but plenty of action left to come. Let's go to P8 with Forrest McCormack as they're chased down by Kulik in the BMW, and we've got 3 BMWs and Neo in the Mercedes. Forrest McCormack a little bit brave on the curbs coming through here, but manages to make it work this time. In the background there you can see Hemi working their way. Looks like they're playing on controller or keyboard. That might actually be keyboard. But seemingly making it work still. So side by side, Hemi and Neo through the chicane, make contact though, and that's Neo turned around. Hemi continues, and Neo gets out of the way. Here's Nasuru in the Audi as well, currently running in P4 with Alien in the Alpha, looking for a way through to the stadium section. And Alien giving it the beans as they try to take the inside line. There we go, over the start-finish line they go. It looks like Michael has opened up a 1.2 second advantage over Red, with 5 minutes of race time concluded. And the car's starting to spread out a little bit now. It took about 5 minutes for that to happen, but we've had some pretty close racing up until now. Let's go to Zaddy and Erdi, both in Mercedes, as they come around the final corner. And it's Zaddy, 0.4 of a second behind in the white and pink livery, chasing down Erdi. Yeah, I think I agree with you there, Carl. That probably will end up being a report. Probably worth mentioning actually that we didn't receive a single report after the last round. Erdi getting a little bit under pressure now from Zaddy, who takes the inside line. And they're pretty much going neck and neck into the first chicane. Neo down in P12 despite qualifying well. A little bit of a bump between Zaddy and Erdi. What was that, Zaddy? That is very entertaining. In terms of somehow managing to turn the car around on the brakes. I guess that might be a brake bias issue potentially. But Erdi takes the exit route. Zaddy goes round, and Zaddy returning into position to Erdi there like a true gentleman. And the racing can continue. So back to the front of the grid, and Michael leading the pack here with a 2.2 second advantage. Seemingly controlling the pace here without too much issue. They have quite a bit of ballast still because they are 5th in the championship. I'm just going to go and double check for you there what they have exactly. So Michael is currently running on 29 kilos of ballast actually, which isn't too much. There's quite a big disparity between the amount that Andrew's carrying and everyone else. So Andrew, for example, carrying 85. Michael's only got 29, which is just marginally more than the newcomers have received. I'm going to say 1,000 colour minimum. So Red closing in a little bit now, 1.6 seconds, which is closer than he was before. I think it was about 2.2 earlier on, and Red's definitely making some inroads there on that last lap. Let's take a quick look at the last lap times and just to confirm that for you. Last lap for Michael, 2:18.798, and Red was a 2:19.193. So, sorry, that's best lap times. Actually, no, they both did their best lap on the last lap. So I'm reading the both columns are the same. So actually, Red was a second or so, well, 4/10 slower on the last lap. So I might be mistaken in my assertion there that he is catching up. But you can see he's back to 2.4 seconds now, so he had at least closed in to 1.6 before. 4,500, that is kind of insane. P15, we've got Scatty in the Alpha, getting some pressure from the likes of Taylor in the 190E. And if we go to Taylor, you can see him pushing hard here in the Mercedes as they come through the what's it called? The stadium section. Of course, the 190E is pretty fast when it's underway, but off the line, the Alpha with its all-wheel drive system will definitely outcompete it. As we saw Viles do last weekend, the 190E can certainly do high-speed corners quicker than the Alphas can. But onto the back straight we go, or the front straight as it might be. And you can see the onboard view here from Taylor as he drives a mere 0.3 of a second behind Sketty on the run down to the first chicane. You can see actually the slipstream starting to take effect now, and the overspeed kicking in as they try to use the braking zone to catch up. Oh, there we go. It's a mistake from Sketty, and they've had to go over the grass. And that should mean that they return the position, which they have done. So now Taylor's up to P15. Yeah, it's going to be one hell of a sight watching all of these cars come down the Nordschleife straight. Taylor overcooks it though through the tricky chicane, and that allows Sketty to come straight back through. So we have Audi, BMW, Alpha, Audi. Audi's definitely dominant here in Hockenheim. An Alpha for Alien and for Binding, and then it's BMWs for Forsum, Cormac, Kulik, Akashik, Hemi, R. Postma, and then we get down to the Mercedes, which are Neo, Zaddy, Erdi, and Taylor. Of course, Sketty is the only other Alpha which isn't in the top 5, so maybe not having the best race today. A little bit of a chance here for Hemi as they overtake Akashik. Must have been a bad chicane for Akashik, but Akashik isn't done yet. And you can see from Akashik's onboard view here that Hemi is riding the curves through the chicane, but Akashik gets a good launch, and kind of impressive to see that Hemi is driving on keyboard. And there's Akashik with a direct drive force feedback wheel. And I'm just about beating someone on a keyboard. But here we go through the stadium section. Akashik still putting on the pressure. Cuts to the inside, just at the last second there, and looks for an opportunity down the inside straight there, but inside corner. But again, struggles to execute the move here in the stadium section, which is a little bit tricky to do. But if he can set himself up nicely with a good exit from the final corner, and they might be in with an opportunity to get through before the first chicane, which is kind of what the strategy will need to be at this point. Yeah, Akashik definitely struggling, although the team is doing well overall. That's mostly being propped up by Red up in P2. But Akashik now on the straights down to the first chicane. Let's see what he can do with slipstream. Pretty much same ballast between Akashik and Hemi. Akashik pushing the advantage here on the brakes as late as he may dare. Hemi has a bit of a whoopsie daisy and takes the escape road, and that puts him back into P10. Akashik up to P9. Yeah, it was very nicely done, Karlova. you can lord that over Akshek for the rest of eternity. So 7 minutes left on the timer for race number 1. Track temperature 32 degrees, limited wind, and track conditions are now optimal. They generally start at about 98%, but by the end of the practice session and qualifying, the rubbering in effect works. Here we go. We've got Alien in P4 with Binding close behind. I think the timing board had a little bit of a mistake there. I thought there was a lot closer, but Forrest McCormack is actually just edging up behind our good friend Binding, who's in P5, and as they come through the stadium section, you'll see Forrest McCormack looking to push the advantage here. He's running with limited to, what, actually 0 ballast. That's very limited ballast. But obviously hasn't had as much time behind the wheel as Binding has in the Alpha. But yeah, good to see Forrest McCormack out on track today. Obviously had a bit of a mare with the first start of the race, but was lucky that there was a race restart to give him a second chance. And here he is with the opportunity now as he pushes the advantage through the first corner. Swings out to the left-hand side as he overtakes Binding. And as they come down to the first chicane, we'll see what Binding can do. Whether there's enough time for the slipstream to catch it back up. In the background, Kulik overtaking Nasuru. Forrest locking up the wheels. Let's watch now as we have Nasuru and Kulik. Nasuru in the Audi, Kulik in the BMW. And they're trying to go through side by side, which is always a little bit tricky in a track with a corner that narrow. And it's Kulik who comes out on top as the Audi, driven by Nasuru, has to drop down to P8. Down here in P15 we've got a 190E and a Alpha going hammer and tong as Taylor attempts to continue fighting. Here we go back to P11 though, where we've got Neo and R. Posma. And Neo, who qualified third I believe, is just losing out one position there as the BMW comes through, and R. Posma up to P11. But Neo's not done yet by the looks of it, and appears to be almost bump drafting, but not quite. Takes a look down the inside as they come down to the next chicane. He's going to have to be on the spot there with the brakes, but you can see he had to brake much earlier than R. Posma. But here they go. Nasuru in the Audi, R. Posma in the BMW, and Neo in the Mercedes. And now battling their way, almost three-way battle forming as they come down towards the stadium section. Bit of a cracked windscreen there for Neo. Thought that was rain for a moment. Clouds seem to have come over at the moment. The track's got a little bit darker. Ambient temperatures dropped to 24, but the track is still the same temperature. As they round the final corner, ooh, BMW loses the rear end just a little bit there, and that's going to allow Neo to probably take advantage of that. Neo on the outside as they come down to T1, following in behind Nasuru. And R. Posma is going to have to tuck in behind and see if they can make a good use of the run down to the first chicane. Bit of a mistake from Nasuru there, and it's opportunity now for both R. Posma and Neo. Neo getting through already. And here we are on board with R. Posma as they use the slipstream. Nasuru thinking about a bit of a comeback and gets down the inside with a bit of overspeed. But here they all go into the corner. Nasuru actually just decides to wait and let them all go through. So loses out 2 positions almost there, and Neo and Posma are through. Just 2 minutes left on the race clock for the first race. So come on Adrian, what's your excuse? Where are you today? Thuru cooking again as he starts to push in. But actually dropping back a little bit now. It's the BMW driven by R. Posma who's making the most out of the opportunity here. In the foreground you can see Hemi. There's Posma on the inside trying to throw the BMW down, but just about missing out right in the curbs like a true DTM car should. It's a good question, Carla, actually. I don't know. I'm not sure I can tell from where I'm sitting here. But the three-way battle with Neo and Nasuru and Posma continues, with Hemi now potentially being included in this battle to create a four-way. Well, Forrest will need to get himself on the podium for an interview. Round the final corner they go, and Neo and Nasuru again really close together. Hemi now forming part of the train as R. Posma drops to the back of this train. And there's a bit of a slowdown there for Hemi. That's going to slow them right down, allows all three of the cars to get through. So a bit of a nightmare scenario there. Hemi losing out 3 positions in one corner. And down the back straight, or front straight to the first chicane we go. All cars in close proximity. Nasuru tucks out to the outside this time. Will he show a little bit more daring as they come down to the braking zone? Neo taking a very interesting line through there, and all 4 cars continue the good fight. And it's Nasuru who looks to be in with a good shot here, because they are potentially going to slingshot out from the side here. Although actually no, a little bit too close, I think, for the chicane. Let's see who overcooks it this time. Nope, we're all through, and Neo has really got a an Audi to the on the back wing here to worry about. Here comes Nasuru with the slipstream speed. Down to the next chicane. Neo's still alongside slightly, maybe just a fraction behind now, and over the curbs I go. Neo off, and potentially with an interesting rejoin, he's going to have to consider the use of the racing line next time, because that was very close. He's actually side by side with Posma now, but Posma's through before the beginning of the first corner into the stadium section. Meanwhile, Hemi is still in the fight here, just a few fractions of a second behind. Yeah, you've got to listen to the radio while you're listening, or driving your DTM Mercedes. There you have the mighty Mercedes behind Posma's rear wing, and Posma gets off to a good line there, with Neo still 0.4 of a second behind. But there we go, that's the race end, and it's Michael in P1, Red in P2, Andrew in P3, Alien in P4, Forrest McCormick does well there with a P5, Binding P6, Kulik P7, Akashik P8, Nasuru in P9. Posma grabs points in his first opening race here with a P10. Neo just narrowly avoiding points there despite a really good qualifying session. Takes P11, Hemi in P12, and Zaddy will pick up P13 by the looks of it. Here is Zaddy to pick up P13. So, it was an Audi who won the race. Let me go ahead and call that. So, manage predictions. Oh, we had mostly people going for the BMW. So, brave. 8.6 thousand channel points on the line there for BMW. A mere 1,000 for Audi, but whoever chose Audi, congratulations. It's a win for you. But yeah, first time we've had to use the race restart option, and it thankfully worked pretty well, although the cars weren't perfectly straight, which is a little bit annoying. But yeah, bit of a pile up into T1, even though it was at the back end of the grid, and I did say that that may be less impactful. I considered that it was 5 cars, and therefore significant enough to worry about. So, let's set up the prediction for the next race. I'll give you guys 5 minutes on this one. And we'll go for the same again. Which car brand will win the second race? Will we see another Audi win? Or will one of the other drivers be able to dethrone the Audi? Just having a bit of a chat out to the drivers of the league there in the Discord, just saying take it easy in T1. You can certainly lose your race in T1, but you can't win it in T1. Especially at a track like Hockenheim, where there's so many opportunities for overtaking. Go ahead and I think it was actually the overcast clouds which was making it a little bit darker earlier on. Let's go back to linear. That might be a little bit more easy on the eye. But yeah, race number 1 completed, and Andrew in P3. So the ballast seems to be taking an impact. Alien in P4 was a great result for Alien. But Michael, surprise results for the Audi. Technically, I think the Volvo's got the highest top speed, but the Audi seems to have done pretty well here at Hockenheim. We'll have to see whether Michael can reproduce that for the second race. And here we go. Just about 1 minute and 7 seconds to go before we get underway. So yeah, cast your predictions. I see everyone's piled in on the Audi bandwagon again. But red is there in P2, and we've got 2 Alphas driven by 2 very capable drivers behind. Also, Forrest McCormack in the BMW could be a bit of a dark horse because they have 0 ballast, having attended this round as their first round. Well, actually, I guess it's technically the second round because they tried to come to the last one, but then just rage quit because of the car. Here we go. Lights are up. Engines are revving. And away we go. Look at that launch. Red gets a really poor start there, actually. A little bit late onto the throttle. And Forrest McCormack in the other BMW seems to be taking advantage of that fact as they run down to T1. Let's see how they do this time. Bit of a bump already. I think we're good. And we are off racing once again here at Hockenheimring as the pack descends down. Ooh, red getting caught out on the straight there. Let's go back to red. He got bumped on the straight off onto the grass. And the entirety of the grid is now descending down to the first chicane in... Oh my god, this looks like it's like at least 3 wide in a few places. Zaddy having a Zaddy moment. Bit of bumping, bit of shoving. But that is technically DTM. And I think we are okay. Zaddy was the unfortunate loser in that little debacle. But otherwise, everyone else is through. And Just gotta watch your spacing here on the straights, guys. There is plenty of room on the track. Through the next chicane, and that's Postman, I think, getting caught up by Sketty. I think Sketty's in the wall there, pretty damaged by the looks of it. Might need to head off to the pits after that incident. But here we go, Neo, better start this time, up in P5 in the Mercedes, and they've got Nasuru and Red hot on their heels after the first lap. Not with that incident, comes almost to an end. We've got Akshik, Binding and Sketty. Give me a decent camera angle, there we go. Heading on their way down to the stadium section is Akashik riding behind Binding. Binding's off the track though, and we'll have to rejoin carefully. Looks like Hemi takes the opportunity to catch up a little bit there. Forrest McCormack though in P4. Michael's out in front with an 8/10 lead over Andrew. Alien in P3, which is a great move for Alien. But Forrest McCormack leads the best of the rest with P4 currently. Neo hot on his heels though. And let's take a look from the onboard from Neo as he looks to take a bit of a nice T1 overspeed advantage here. And he should be able to get past. Side by side still with Forrest McCormack as they head down to the first chicane. Forrest on the inside, of course. He should be able to defend quite nicely, but looks like Neo might just be a fraction ahead, but I reckon he's not far enough ahead. Actually, no, I stand corrected. Neo's managed to do it on the brakes, and Forrest McCormack now drops down to P5 as Forrest now comes under pressure from the likes of Nasuru and Red. Red, I'm sure, will be absolutely raging in his BMW because he got bumped on the straight and pushed out onto the grass and lost quite a few positions as a result of it. But Red is through up to P6 and now puts some pressure onto Forrest McCormack as we go from the inside view. For Red, you can see him really working the car now to get the next overtake completed. He's a man on a mission as he manages to come alongside Forrest McCormack and put himself in a position to overtake into the next chicane. So Forrest down to P6. That's just a demonstration there of the familiarity that Red has with this car. He knows exactly how much to get out of it, and he puts the time in crucially during the practice sessions to make the most of these races. Forrest McCormack, Red and Nasuru now in a bit of a three-way battle for P5 as Nasuru is mere half a second behind. Into the stadium section we go though, and if I go to the onboard view, I say onboard view of an Audi, really only got one onboard view that works. But you can see from his point of view that Forrest McCormack is not giving up lightly with Red breaking away into P5. But as they come through the final couple of corners, it's going to be Forrest McCormack trailing behind the likes of Red, and there's the Audi drifting through the final corner. In the background you can see Taylor in the Mercedes just being trailed by Akshik. If we come down here you can see down through T1. Ooh, Neo has just overtaken Alien. Just saw that happen off camera, unfortunately, but Neo has launched past. And that probably means that Red is closing in quickly as well. That must mean that Neo took advantage of Alien having a bad T1. And as we go through, Red is right on the tail of the Alpha driven by Alien in front. 5 minutes of race time completed. Looks like Alien's taking a sniff down the left hand side, and we're going to see whether Red can do the same. Back to the onboard view, you can see Red lining up the angle just right here. Rides oh! I don't understand how Red survived that. I think it was a potential desync, but he just went straight through. Just, I mean, yeah, so lucky that that happened. He could have just died right there and then, but Neo has disconnected, and unfortunately that's what probably caused the issue. But thankfully the server kicked in with the desync protection, and Red didn't get sent to the Netherrealm. But yeah, jump scare and a half car. I think you probably heard me audibly react there. So yeah, Red has worked his way up to P4, which is a great result, and definitely not one to sit around. Neo unfortunately has a disconnect, and I think Bindings had a disconnect as well. Sketty's obviously disconnected because of that big crash at the beginning. So that's unfortunate. Marju as well disconnected at the end of qualifying, so maybe they're having internet trouble and that's why they can't get back on the server. Neo, what happened? Carlavo, would you mind clipping that for me, please? The jump scare moment. That was yeah, quite a thing. Through T1 they go, and it's Red looking to try and catch up with Alien up ahead in the Alpha. And Red is now closing in at a fair rate of knots on Alien. He's definitely working his way back to the podium. Rear end of the BMW squirming for grip as Red gives it everything he's got. Nasuru also putting some pressure on R. Posma in the Audi, and I think we're going to see a potential move there if he can find his way through. And we'll get back to Red momentarily. Ooh, Red. Ooh, Red's had a big off in the chicane. And that's dropped him down to P8. There's Akshik, his teammate, coming past. Let's hope Red doesn't have too much damage. He's got... Take a quick look at this. He's got front end and rear end damage by the looks of it. So yeah, probably... I mean, it's 100% damage on the session, so... I wouldn't be surprised if Red has now got some raised impact and damage from that. That does, however, leave Forrest McCormack to put the pressure on... Ooh, look at that. R. Posma and Nasuru side by side. In fact, Nasuru just jumps through into the lead as they come through into the stadium section. Here we are with Posma. But yeah, Forrest McCormack up in P4. Alien can rest easy a little bit now in P3. And Andrew still sitting quite happily in P2. Through the first corner they go. Looks like Posma's got a good run as they start to make some good ground here, but it's the straight line speed of that Audi which is going to make it very difficult for that move to work out. Let's go back to P10. We've got Taylor and Hemi, and there's Taylor popping out from the side as they start to work their way down to the inside line for the first chicane. Taylor's hammering onto the brakes. Again, going through side by side. It's actually Hemi who drops back, allowing Taylor to go through. And it's Taylor who moves up to P10. Here we are with Kulik in P5 with Nasuru now hunting down their next victim. Sounds like Nasuru absolutely murdering the gearbox. But the V8 Audi certainly has a nice sound to it, and Nasuru's hammering on the brakes, but Let's see who gets through with more speed. He's bumping over the curbs there, like true DTM racing. Red still in the running here with a P9. He's not going to miss out on the points entirely. Suru still putting the pressure on Kulik. Kulik goes defensive into the final corner, into the stadium section, but Nasiru is right on top of him now. Nasiru catches a bit too much curb there, unsettles the car, and he ends up with a bit of what's called rear end sliding happening, and that's put him down almost a second behind Posma. Sorry, Kulik. It's Posma who's behind and potentially looking to take advantage of a little mistake here and there from Nasiru to catch up that 1.3 seconds delta. So pretty disastrous race for Red. Got caught out with damage early on. Well, not damage, but he got pushed off the track onto the grass and lost a few positions. And then on his comeback run, picked up a fairly significant tank slapper, which has done quite a bit of damage by the looks of it. Let's go to Forrest McCormack now, who's putting some pressure onto Alien and working his way onto the podium. Seven minutes left on the clock. Looks like those who voted Audi are in a pretty safe bet here. Ooh, what's that? Nasiru. Nasiru's had a big off. And we'll have to wait to rejoin. Yeah, Nasiru down to P11. Bit of a shame, considering they were having a pretty good race up until that point, but Hockenheim's one of those tracks where you really have to do the practice, and I hate to say it, but not everyone is doing the practice. But even Red, who's putting the time in here, has had some big offs today, so certainly not without incident. There's Zaddy in P13, just losing out of position there to Erdi, as we have our two 190Es. But Forrest McCormack's up to P3 now. Alien in P4, coming through the stadium section. It's like Nasiru and Hemi going side by side through the stadium section, looking for a little bit of action. Don't worry, Neo, there's still time. Then to the final 5 minutes we go. Track temperature 38 degrees now, so it's actually a lot hotter than race number one. Race number one was like 32 degrees, so that may actually be contributing to some of the overheating issues with tyres. I know these cars are quite sensitive to tyre temperature. Hemi getting bounced around on the curbs. Got to be very careful with those curbs. Yeah, certainly took a while, Carlover. Okay, cloud cover has come over the circuit, and we are now a little bit darker. You can see the sun just appearing around the corner. That might cool things down a little bit. But right now we're on with the Audi driven by Nasiru in P10. Let's go out to Forrest McCormack and Alien though, as these two battle their way through the stadium section. At the moment, Forrest on track for a podium. With a pop of exhaust there from Forrest McCormack as we come through the final couple of corners. So best lap of the race certainly goes to, without a doubt, Michael with a 2:18.826 on the medium compound. Alien's actually driving on soft compound today, which is interesting. Plenty of 2:19s coming in for the likes of Andrew, Forrest McCormack. We've also got Akshik and Red. The most other people in kind of 2:20 to 2:21 territory. But Forrest is now quite happily in P3 with Alien over 4 seconds behind. Of course, Forrest is a little bit all over the place with the rear end of the BMW. He needs to be careful that he doesn't smash it into a barrier like Red did. But it's good to see that Red is still in the runnings here for points. P8 currently, despite damage. I wonder how much of an impact it's having on Red. Let's see if we can see from the in-car camera what's going on with Red's car. The steering wheel seems to be slightly to the left to go in a straight line, which is understandable, but not as bad as I thought it might be actually. Windscreen's certainly seen better days, and does seem to be a bit unstable under braking. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of suspension damage in there as well. Akashik in front of the foreground here, catching up with Arposma. Arposma first outing here, potentially leading to a P6, which would be great news for him. Hemi is also first round outing for them, P11. And here we have Akashik looking to make a little bit of a last-ditch attempt to grab another position here. 0.6 of a second behind. And you can see Posma going through the first corner here. Akashik in the background. He's 0.5 of a second coming out of T1, dropping back to 0.6. Actually, he's not getting the run that he was hoping for. And that may impact his ability to catch up by the end of this lap. Looks like Michael's about halfway through the circuit, so I fully expect this to be the last lap now. Let's see what Akashik can do as we go round the track one last time. Akashik giving it everything he's got. He's off the track though, and he's going to have to use all of that BMW power. It's pretty much the same ballast as Posma, because Posma's got the average level of ballast, but you can see the overspeed just starting to kick in for Akashik there as they come up to the next chicane. And it's Posma who goes through there with a significant advantage. 0.7 of a second behind now for Akashik. That's too far, I would say, at this point, potentially to come back from that. Look at that, Michael with a 8-second lead on Andrew down into the final couple of corners, and it's Andrew in P2 despite all that ballast. Michael coming through the stadium section now on the run down to a victory here in the Audi. And Michael picks up the win if he doesn't bin it before the start-finish line. And Michael has won the race. Andrew picks up a well-deserved P2. Boris McCormack onto the podium, so we get to have a chat with him in the interviews. And Alien picks up a P4, although that might be subject to change depending on any potential penalties. Kulik does great in this race with a P5. Posma picks up P6. And Akshik grabs P7. And then we have Red, who finishes in P8 despite the incidents that they suffered from. Taylor grabs P9. Nasuru grabs P10. Hemi coming in with a P11. Just narrowly missing out on the points there. And the post-race celebrations begin. Zaddy picks up a P12. And it looks like Erdy's grabbing P13. So let's go ahead and kick off the interview stage. Sounds like Audi doing donuts. So we are waiting now for our race winners to come and join us in the commentary box. Looks like Red has jumped off the server, which is never a good sign. There's Michael. I'm going to go ahead and invite Michael to speak. And I'll grab Andrew as well.
Hello.
Hello, Michael. Congratulations on a double win today.
I am so happy. This is my first league race win ever in any kind of league since I've started sim racing, so I'm very happy I've done it here.
Very nice, and you got 2 back-to-back today. What was the secret for your Audi today? Was it just straight line speed for the Audi or something else?
The Audi is a brick on very soft suspension, therefore I could just jump over the curves extremely far down into the grass, and I just gained every single time like 5/10 from the first chicane, so that was probably the thing, apart from the huge top speed, of course.
Okay, and you kept it in the lines.
I presume so. In my qualifying laps, I didn't get any penalties for that, so I hope it doesn't. I don't get penalties for this race.
Well, I mean, from what I could see, it looked okay. But
he was fine.
yeah, let's listen, I was going to say let's listen to Andrew. He was probably getting a good front row seat for the whole of the second race. How did you find it today, Andrew? Was what was it? The Alpha not able to deal with the curbs, or was it the ballast?
I could have set the car up better to try and do what Michael was doing, so that's probably on me.
But someone didn't practice.
Clearly, I don't need to, mate.
Well, I mean, there is that. You are on track for another good amount of points today in the championship. What was the consensus then for the Alpha today, Andrew? What was the how did it feel out there at Hockenheim?
On my setup, it was fine. I lost a lot of time in the first chicane to Michael, and the third chicane wasn't particularly enjoyable, but other than that, it was just thoroughly mid, I think. Oh, and the race start, obviously, is incredibly hilarious if you're driving the Alpha. Not so much for everyone else.
I do love. I mean, it was good for Michael actually because you had no one in front of you. But at the beginning of every race in this league, it's pretty much just 2 lines of cars, and suddenly it's just the middle filled with Alphas as they all pile into the middle to get through.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's impressive. Obviously, let's talk a little bit about race number 1. The first time we've had to use the race restart feature. What does that look like from a driver's perspective? Are you just put back into the starting lineup?
Yeah, insta teleport.
I noticed it didn't seem to line you up in a straight line though.
Yeah, a few cars were like offset, like you see in F1, where they try to give themselves a bit of an angle so they can try to cut off the opponents. But I don't think those who had the angle were very pleased with it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
a slight issue with that. For example, because of the reset and because the Audi is a very buggy car, it started me on stone cold tires, so I had no tire grip for the first half of the lap.
Oh, really?
It
Okay,
basically
that's...
reset my tire blankets, and it also put me slightly to the left, but I think it was just because of the bounce when you initially spawn.
That's interesting to know, actually. Well, we've never had to use it before, so today was the first time we've actually had to do that. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work perfectly. I'll actually submit a ticket to the people who develop the software we're using for the server manager. It's good to know how that works exactly. But Pixel, welcome! Your first completed round here in the league, and you've managed to get yourself on the podium.
Yeah.
I suppose you were quite glad of the restart.
Yeah, I was. Like I haven't watched the replay, so I can't say that I did or didn't do anything wrong. But I was just doing my line, and then suddenly it was 3 wide, and I was in the middle, and yeah, that's never a good idea.
It was a Pixel sandwich, and everyone lost.
Yeah.
Well,
everyone did lose.
It didn't look too bad, and then suddenly there was kind of 5 or 6 cars facing the wrong direction. So I thought that's probably, and given it was T1, I thought that's probably grounds to trigger the restart. Yeah, thankfully no one had got really too far on the track, so it wasn't too impactful. But how did the BMW feel then compared to the Audi? Because I know you were in the Audi before, weren't you, Pixel? And obviously Michael's managed to make a good run of it today, but you weren't enjoying the Audi.
Michael is in a class of one, I think, of people who can actually get on with the Audi. I think it's a terrible car. It should get in the bin. It should be lit on fire. Well, I mean, not the real life car, just the mod, because it's a terrible mod. There's no setup adjustments you can do with it. It's an awful driving car. It's really poorly made, to be quite honest. And it's just awful to drive. The Beamer, aside from the starts, is actually pretty nice to drive. It was quite fun. I was starting to understand it towards the end of the second race, so you might have seen I was quite inconsistent. But yeah, turning the car.
And I know that you've had less time in the car, so a question from Car Lover in chat is, were you using ABS or not today?
If you had been driving behind me and seeing all the tire smoke, you would have understood that I'm definitely not using it. my poor front right tire in race 1 was down to like 40%. Where like it was.
Okay. Well, yeah,
that poor tire did not deserve what I did to it.
Yeah, did it flat spot it at all, or were you okay?
The wheel was definitely shaking a little bit. I don't think that really affects pace much, to be honest. I don't think it really has much of an impact on grip. It's just an annoyance. But yeah, it was definitely quite square.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, yeah, everyone seemed to go through that little bit of a learning curve with the brakes, because they don't naturally have ABS in real life, so the server's enabling it. But apparently, like, if you have it on, you don't have any brakes at all, really. And if you have ABS off, you just really need to work out how to get your brake pedal set up correctly, so you don't end up with the smoke show that you were experiencing a little bit today.
Yep.
But the other question from Carl over as well, because he's a fellow BMW driver, he asks, would you be interested in joining his team, because you are both in the Beamer?
Yeah, sure.
Well, there we go. Another team for the grid. So, where are we going next round? We have, I think, a bit of a break weekend up next weekend. So there's an F1 event on for those who are interested. But then when we resume, we are going to be going to, and I can't actually pronounce the name of this, Magny-Cours?
Magny-Cours, yeah.
Close enough.
Magny-Cours, yeah. That's a fun track. Not quite sure how it's going to work out in these cars, because it's a lot of there's quite a number of kind of like medium to high speed corners, which is not really where these cars are sort of happiest. So there's going to be a bit of yeah, you're going to have fun. Long corners.
This suspension ever. I'm probably gonna suffer a lot in Magny-Cours. This is gonna be a disaster.
Yeah, you were going to die. It's not going to be fun. You're going to really enjoy the run down to the hairpin and absolutely nothing else about that circuit. You poor thing.
Well, it might be another
I
chance
know.
for Viles to demonstrate his 190E supremacy, because it sounds like it's going to be similar to Magello then in the fast high-speed corners.
There's a bit. They're not quite as fast, and there is more of an element of low speed corners. So I think it's a different circuit type again from Mugello. But yeah, I think if a car can be fast at Mugello, then it stands a reasonable chance at Manicola.
Well, we'll have to see what he can do. It was one hell of a drive he put in last weekend, so looking for a little bit more of that. We need to see a bit more Mercedes up front. But there we go. Jim the Slim, thank you for the follow. Well, thank you very much for the interviews, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure, and looking forward to seeing what happens at the next round. And Andrew's dominance continues, but we'll have to see how much ballast we can actually physically fit into a car.
Boo.
It's still too little.
It should be going down, shouldn't it?
Well, you've got more points now. Where did you finish in race number 1?
Third and second.
Yeah, so you're still getting a ton of points. So yeah, we're going to have to basically just put a few more people in the back of your car. You'll have the entire fan squad in there.
A few more limbs.
Yeah. From your
My
victims.
Audi at this point is suffering so much, even with this little kind of balance. I'm afraid what's going to happen next round, especially at Manico.
Well, surely,
Yeah,
Michael, the
double
more
win, that's
ballast we
gonna
put
be a
in,
big-
the more it's going to compress the springs, and you might actually have firm springs.
Yeah, at some point.
Somehow I don't
not
think it's
turn.
gonna work like that.
I just
Just-
have less ride height, which is better.
Just bottoming out on the straights. Brilliant. Okay, well, thanks, guys. I know Red didn't jump into the interview box. I think they're going to be calming down a little bit after the incident they had in race number 2. They had a bit of a push and a shove on a straight, which didn't go too well, and then a bit
Yeah,
of
what
a
happened there, Pixel?
I did bump drafting. It was bump drafting, and then Red was in the grass.
Just by an accident, somehow.
I don't know. It was going fine, and then suddenly he was like 20 degrees to the right and having to get out of the throw.
You almost pit maneuvered him. It's crazy.
Not on purpose, man. I thought I was hitting his rear end square. Apparently not.
So
It
you
was
hit
his
the
rear end.
quarter panel, which gives him the first wiggle, and then he wiggles across your nose and somehow saves it. It's pretty-
well. I suppose it goes without saying that bump drafting isn't encouraged in this league. In a game with netcode issues, but yeah, we'll have to see how Red does. It's a shame that he wasn't strutting his normal stuff in race number 2, because he seems to be able to get some god speed out of that BMW.
He recovered well until he decided to drive into the wall at the second chicane.
Yeah, I didn't see that,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but I cut back to him and suddenly he was basically. I mean, if AC had better crash physics like BMG, he would have been a cube at that point, I think.
I
They
think
would've
he
had
would
the
have.
covers
I think
out
he would
as
have been in a graveyard, to be honest.
Yeah.
Red was chasing me so hard the first race, I was sweating incredibly hard for the first half, and then suddenly he just disappeared because of the soft tires. So it was sad to not see him fighting again in the second race. I was scared of Andrew though. He was chasing me really hard second race. I was scared.
Nah, you were too fast today. I had no chance.
Unless I was making mistakes.
Which you didn't.
Thankfully, it's only 20 minutes of endurance, so I can survive on one Red Bull.
I lost concentration on the final lap of race 2 and almost killed myself.
Oh, why didn't
I
you, man?
slowed
Come
down.
on.
But just to not crash and absolutely bin it, I was always slowing down by like 2 seconds per lap at the last 2 laps. So just to save myself.
Mm. You see, that's the problem. I was slowing down, but because you fall out of a rhythm, I just made it more difficult for myself.
I was doing breathing exercises in the first race because I needed to calm myself down being this close to a first win ever. I was breathing slow in and slow out.
First win's always good, isn't it?
Finally.
Well,
I
enjoy
finally
that moment, Michael. Like both of them, because it's a double win. And let's see what you can do for the rest of the season.
The tickets are flooding in. Madness, absolute madness.
Oh, there's four already, which is always a good sign.
Uh-oh.
So I'll have my hands full this week, I'm sure.
Neo ain't happy.
I'm just super
Oh,
sad
God.
for Sgetty and Neo they're always so happy, and this race was just today was disaster for them. I was so sad just being in the front and hearing people complain. It was really not good.
Yeah,
I
never.
DTM'd Neo on race 1 on turn 1.
God bless.
It was a shame. The shame it descended into this compared to because Mugello was such a solid race, like so clean, but such close racing. So hopefully we get back onto that kind of that even keel. But anyway, guys, I'm going to kick off the raid for the stream. But thanks for the interview as always, and looking forward to the next round. And I hope to see you all there.
Yep. See you.
Catch you later, guys.
Bye-bye. Adios.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for being part of the stream. Bedrock Zoo, Carlover, is where we're going. So I shall drop you off there. Have a good time, and I will catch you all again on the next one.
Could you repeat that with a penis out of your mouth?
And joining without permission from Papa Lordy?
Sorry, now I got raided. I couldn't hear you. Hold on. Thank you, Syndicate. Welcome everybody.
Fuck you and fuck that raid. I was talking.
Thank you, Syndicate. Welcome everyone. You did Assetto.